So in order to tell you guys a little bit about Cornell Woolrich and my huge collection that you'll see, I want to say there's at least 30, maybe 35 books here that I'm going to be showing you guys. I think in order to talk about him properly, I'm going to have to tell you guys about a few other things first. A few other things that I really like. When I was probably 14 or 15, going back to 2012, I became a really big Beatles fan, like, overnight. I was never really like a music guy. I don't know why. When I was younger, I just really didn't have any music taste. Now, I had a couple friends that were sort of musicians. They were kind of like, I'm a musician that doesn't make any music. And I know I'm talking about teenagers here that were like 15, 16 years old, but they were always like, we've got guitars, we could do like the beginning of like Stairway to Heaven, and they were like, we're in a band. I wish I could remember their like fake band name, but they never had a band practice. They never did anything, never wrote one song. It was always like, do you want to hear the first 5 seconds of Stairway to Heaven? Do you want to hear the first 5 seconds of Paranoid? Do you want to hear the first 5 seconds of a song? I never heard any of them ever actually play an entire song, like start to finish. I don't even think I heard one of them sing, but they liked music. Like I said, they're musicians that never made music. And at the lunch table at school, they would talk about music a lot. I really don't know why I was friends with them. It could just be like, and I don't mean that in like a rude way. I just mean like I went to like a really small school, so I guess kind of we were just next to each other all the time, so we sort of became like friends. And I just didn't really have anything to talk to them about. Now, one of them brought up the Beatles one day, and I went home, and I everybody knows like the name like the Beatles, but like me being like a not so music guy, I think I just knew what they looked like. I really couldn't tell you a Beatles song. And I went home and I typed in on YouTube the Beatles, and Help was the first one that came up, and so I listened to the song Help. And I Googled them. I just wanted to know their names, and it became like my lifelong like obsession, okay? So I became a huge Beatles fan. This is back in, like I said, 2012, before YouTube became a little bit crazy with their, you can't upload this, you can't upload anything, nothing, absolutely nothing, no uploads. We don't even want uploads. Nobody upload anything, because YouTube used to be the place where you could come and find anything. You could find any music you wanted, a movie, a funny video, some clip from TV, but now it all, everything gets a copyright strike, right? But back then, you could find any Beatles album, any mix of a Beatles song. You could find live performances, the Beatle movies, anything Beatles. And me and my younger brother kind of went to like our first ever like Beatles phase at the same time. Because funny enough, the guy that told me about the Beatles, his younger brother told my younger brother. And we were just like, hey, like me and my brother just sort of connected. Like, it was just funny. It was like the same week. I think he had beat me to it by like maybe a day or two. He's like, yeah, maybe we should watch those Beatles movies now. And so we kind of made it like a thing where like pretty much every week we would sit down, we would watch both Help and A Hard Day's Night. The other ones, not so much. I think there's only like probably 3 or 4 of them. But like those two, like we would just watch them all the time. And I remember when my younger sister, actually, when she wanted to begin her Beatles phase, like right after us, it was like months later, and I was like trying to pull up some videos and show her, and like everything got taken down overnight, and I was like, just my luck. When I'm going to connect with my little sister now, everything completely wiped, couldn't find anything. But all that to say, when I went through my Beatles phase, I went through all their albums in probably like 2 days. You could probably get through it all in like a day. Some of their albums are like very short, like 35 minutes, so you could get through them all in like a day, I think. But I went through them all in like 2 days. And I went through like, so like after like that first week, I'd listen to like all their albums and like any like outtakes I could find and all that stuff. And then I kind of like realized later, I was like, man, I know they have solo careers and all, but I'm just like, I was just like, man, like there won't be any new Beatles music. Like, it just kind of hit me. I was like, I went through it all. Like, I discovered it all so fast. I've just listened to it all in a row, and I've listened to it like 10 times total. Like, this month, I've listened to everything. And it was just something I never thought about. because I had never been a big fan of anything before. Like, I was a Chicago Bulls fan, and I mean, I kind of came to terms with the fact that they were never gonna win a championship in my lifetime. Okay, they kind of did. I was one or so when they won the final championship in 1998. So kind of they've won a championship in my lifetime, but one that I could witness. I kind of came to terms with that. So that was like, this was like my first like real big like kind of fandom thing. Was I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I went through it, and there'll never be any new Beatles music. And yeah, I like some of their solo stuff, not all of it. There have been plenty of duds, and Paul is still putting out duds to this day, but it's just different. There's something different about listening to like a solo Beatles song versus an actual Beatles song. And there are some really amazing solo Beatle albums, but it's just not the same as having them all together. You know what I mean? And that was just something I thought about. Was, I went through it so fast, and I almost wish that I would have maybe like stretched it out. Maybe don't go through everything so fast. So when I sort of become a fan of other bands or novelists or a comic book writer or artist or a film director or a screenwriter, I try to sort of space them out and give myself something to look forward to. For example, my absolute favorite writer and director is Brian De Palma. And Brian De Palma, I sort of save his movies for special occasions, more or less. I started out, I had already seen Carrie, way before I became a film bro, so that was, my first one. And so, Carrie was just, I'd seen it a million times, but I wasn't a film bro, so I was never like, oh, what else did this guy do? I just knew, Stephen King adaptation, I'm watching it because Carrie was the first Stephen King book that I ever read. And so, when I finally got more into films, I watched Blowout and Dressed to Kill, and they just automatically became, two of my favorite movies ever. And I think I probably watched, a couple others, and I was like, oh my god, these are all amazing, and everything Brian De Palma was amazing. So, I spaced them out. I'm not saying I have, exact, it has to be a birthday, it has to be this. It's little things. For example, when I was obese, and I was wanting to watch Scarface, and I had stopped eating any junk food, and I still don't really eat junk food, but I love pizza. And I was like, once I get under 200 pounds, because I was probably near 240 pounds, I was like, once I get under 200 pounds, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to watch Scarface, and I'm going to have pizza. And so that's, what I did when I reached that goal. Or it's just something as little as well, today was just a good day and I'm going to watch a movie. Why don't I watch a Brian De Palma movie? That's just kind of how it went. It didn't have to be special, okay, it's my birthday, it's Christmas, I got to wait exactly 5 months before watching another one. It could just be something as little as I want to treat myself today. We're watching this Brian De Palma movie for the first time. Or a Roman Polanski movie or William Friedkin movie or a Stanley Kubrick movie for the first time. Any of those guys, if, I like to space them out. Because there's just, there really is nothing wrong with just going through, I like this guy, I'm going to watch, all 10 movies, right away. There's nothing really wrong with that, but I just really, after I went through, that Beatles phase for the first time, and I went through, everything all at once, everything all the time, everywhere, whatever the movie title is, I went through all of them all at once. And I was like, I really, it was just something I wish I would have savored more. So I try to savor it where I can. So with Cornell, I'm kind of doing that same thing. There's probably, if I had to guess, probably 30 at least different titles here. And there's a few doubles. And I think 1 or 2 I even have triples of. And I've read a good chunk of them. I don't know how many. Maybe we could call it at least 15? Maybe. I've probably read 15 of these. And I just really enjoy them and I want to spread them out as a thing. So all of these I look at and I know I could just marathon these and just read them all in a row. But there's just so many novels and short stories here that I'm just I just really want to savor these. Because Cornell died in 1968 and there's not going to be any more of these. So that's why I just sort of decided, like, I will just spread these out. I've had, like, 2 big, like, Cornell phases where I'm just like, I'm going to read a bunch, and then I read a bunch. And, yeah, maybe I'll start a 3rd phase soon. To also properly talk to you guys about Cornell, I think first I have to show you guys and talk to you guys about 2 specific books, one of which Cornell wrote and one of which he did not. I guess I'll start with showing you guys this book. This is called The Blues of a Lifetime, and this is Cornell's autobiography. It's a pretty thin book. I think I read it over the course of maybe like a week. It's less than 150 pages. In the back, it's just like a bunch of like notes and stuff. That's really like unimportant. So it's like 137 pages. Okay, yeah, I think I read this in maybe like 5 days or maybe like a week. Pretty slim book. And I believe somewhere in the notes here, maybe in the introduction, it does mention that there were parts that Cornell outlined to make this a little bit longer, and those parts apparently were never written. And it all just strikes me as a very lonely man, sort of almost in the vein of, like, for my philosophy bros, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It was kind of, he wrote the book to himself. And he wanted the book destroyed after he died, but when he died, I guess the people were like, yeah, no, let's not destroy this. This is actually a cool book. And so it became like one of the most, famous philosophy books ever. But that was a book, like, he wrote it to himself. It was meant for himself. It was not meant for publication. I don't think Cornell, it just does not strike me as something he ever meant to publish, but it is something that is published. And then we have the great big chunky biography by Francis M. Nevins Jr. I'll admit I only recently got this and I have not read it. And there are a lot of things I've heard about this book. And I feel that it has spread a lot of misinformation about Cornell. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that before officially going in and showing you guys book by book everything, alright? So, if you Google Cornell Woolrich, you'll probably find an article that could tell you all this in much better detail than I could recap here, especially because I'm trying to recap it like very quick so I could go on and show you guys all the books, okay? But this book by Francis Nevins makes a lot of claims about Cornell. For instance, he claims that Cornell was a homosexual, which I don't believe there's any evidence of that based on the autobiography. Oh, and I think if you Google it, the article is you don't know what you think you know about Cornell Woolrich or something like that, okay? In this book, Cornell talks about 3 women that he has been in love with, and he mentions them. One girl, he goes into so much detail about her. There's a whole chapter dedicated to her and their romance, their relationship, why it fell apart. Cornell was married to a woman, and I think probably less than a year later they were divorced, and it was just, I don't know, there's not many details on it. And by the time Cornell died, his ex-wife had died too. Her sister was still alive, and everything her sister had to say about Cornell was hearsay. She said something like, my sister said that Cornell dressed up in a little sailor outfit and went cruising for men and wrote about it in a journal. But the journal's lost, and there's just no evidence of that. It just really sounded like she was slandering him. Because this man was a recluse, he never left his house. He lived with his mother. He was a little Norman Bates, And there's just nothing at all in his autobiography and about any of that. And I don't know why this is so less popular than this chunky biography. Because everyone swears by this, but nobody really swears by Cornell's own words. And not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but it's just, I think it spreads a lot of misinformation. But I also want to say, I have not, of course, read this big chunky book that's I don't know, is this 1,000 pages? It's 600 pages. And one thing I do think is pretty cool is it does have a list of every like TV show or movie or anything that was like adapted from Cornell's books and short stories. There might even be like a section on radio shows here in the back. But this thing is pretty extensive, and I do plan to at least give it a shot, even if I don't really think everything it has to say about Cornell is the truth. I at least have to give it a shot because, you know, I just mentioned hearsay, and technically what I'm also saying is hearsay. So, do the research. I would say read Cornell's autobiography here. If you just Google him, it's like one of the first articles that pops up, like something like you might not know what you think you know about Cornell Woolrich, something like that. There's an article, okay? And I would say probably go to the biography last, especially because that man in the article also like tells about like so many like distant relatives of Cornell who were alive when this was written. This was written like sometime in the 70s. That Francis completely failed to contact or interview or even attempt to get a hold of. So, I just wanted to get that out the way. And now, officially, I'll start looking at the books and telling you guys about Cornell. I don't know really when the first time I heard about Cornell was. And it kind of just reminds me of like, okay, it reminds me of like one of the first episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry and Cheryl are out with Ted Danson and his wife Mary, and they're bowling. And then like later that night, like Larry's telling Cheryl something like, have you ever noticed like everything's heaven with this guy? It's always heaven. Oh, it's something like, you got to try this gum. Oh, this gum is heaven. Like, that's anytime I heard anybody mention Cornell, that's how it sounded to me. Like, oh, you got to read Cornell. It's heaven. It's heaven. I am in a lot of Facebook groups for like older vintage paperbacks, the kind of stuff I like to read and I'm into. And anybody that's like that gets like a recommend or they're like, oh, I'm looking for something to read, or I like this, or who are authors like this. People, oh, you haven't read Cornell Woolrich? Oh, you should read it. It's heaven. It's heaven. And I don't know, I was just seeing it everywhere. And I learned that most of his stuff is like adapted for the screen, and that it's all pretty much out of print, like so many issues with the rights and all. And I was just interested. And this is what I started off with. Is this book, which is a little misleading because it's called 13 Short Detective Novels. And I got this from Half Price Books, maybe like at the end of 2022. They were having the special like 20% off, like store-wide. And I think this might have been like the only book I walked out with. And I bought it probably for like less than $5. And it has a Cornell Woolrich short story, because these are not novels. I don't know why it lists them as short detective novels, but these are all like 30 to 40 pages. And there's one of his stories in here that was really good, called, it's gone by, I've seen it listed under a few different names. Let me see it here. What they labeled it as is The Room with Something Wrong. This short story has like, I don't know, like 100 different names. I'm always seeing like a different name for this short story. But I read it and I really liked it. So then I ended up ordering a bunch of Cornell's books. And the first novel of his I read is The Bride Wore Black. I found this one on eBay for a good price, surprisingly. And I started reading it maybe like the day before, like just a terrible time in my life. I went through like a very rough, like, I don't know, like a month that was just like super rough with a lot going on, right? Without derailing this video. I just had a lot going on. And I read it like the day before things started going wrong, and then I had like one of the absolute worst days of my life. And then the next day after that, I just laid in my bed with this book, and I just went through this book, and it took my mind off of things. I was not checking my phone. I wasn't doing anything. I was like, I am just reading this book, and I was just blown away by everything about it, from the story to the writing style to just everything about it. It was just, I don't know, it was just so good, I guess is all I could say, and I just couldn't wait, to read another one. Now, the second one I read, it was either Black Angel or Rendezvous in Black, but probably it might have been Rendezvous in Black. I read this edition here, And this is from the early 80s, I believe. Let me see if I could find it. Yeah, 82. It looks like this is from 82. Now, they reissued a lot of Cornell's novels in 1982, and I just do not like anything at all about the layout of the cover. It's got like just, I don't know, I don't like the font, and I don't like the way it like puts the art here, but you get like the stripe of black on the sides. It just looks really unprofessional. But I ended up picking this up, I don't know, like a year ago from a convention. And you would not believe how much people hate haggling. This thing was $15. I was like, can you do like 12? And he was like, no, I don't know. He was like, maybe if it doesn't sell by Sunday. This was on a Friday. I was like, man, I'm only here Friday. And he was like, yeah, fine. But Rendezvous in Black, I think this might have been adapted for a radio show that I have not listened to. I think this would make a fantastic movie. And it's basically like the reverse of The Bride Wore Black. The Bride Wore Black is... her husband dies, and so she's like after like these, I don't know, let's say like 5 guys, and then there's like the reverse, like sure, this guy's like girlfriend dies, but then he does go after the kind of guys and girls kind of, and it's just kind of like the same story but reverse, but they're both just like really good. I think Rendezvous in Black definitely needs a movie. This one I have 3 copies of, and this is the edition I read, this Avon book, The Black Angel, and I love that it has, if you guys could see that there, it's got her face on the bat. This one is one I've said probably a couple times on this channel, needs an actual good adaptation, because it was adapted into a movie, into a very awful movie that is nothing at all like the book, and just makes no sense. It's Black Angel in the name alone. They changed everything, and it's just no good. But this is fantastic. This one's about a woman whose husband is cheating on her, and she kind of figures out that he is, and eventually the woman that he's cheating with dies, and he's accused of the murder, and she is the only person that could clear his name, and sets out on this mission and goes into like the underworld to like clear his name. Wonderful story, wonderful book. And, I don't really reread books that often. I've probably reread, like, 2 books in my life. I might, like, revisit a section of a book, but, like, whole thing cover to cover, just too time-consuming. I've got a million books I do want to read. So, but this is definitely one that I will revisit. Maybe not this exact copy, because I think some pages started to, like, fall out on me when I was reading it. But I do have 2 copies here of the hideous 80s reprint. See, I just don't like the black, like how the art is just like in its like little square. I wish the art would like extend to the edges and like just better. It needs better font. But I did buy one of these because I was just like, well, if I reread it, I don't want that book to fall apart on me. And then the other one, I bought a bunch of Cornell's books in a lot, and that other one was included. So that's why I have triple of those. Let's see, where should we next? There's a bunch of stuff here. Well, I'll go with some more that I've read. More of the 80s reprint line. And I hate that I see this like little marketing tactic on this one, just like I showed you guys on the other one with the detective novels. And that's Rear Window and 4 short novels with the hideous, like, that's not even good art. I hate when it's like dark and muddy like that, but anyways. This one contains some really fun short stories. Starts off with Rear Window, and that one is good. Post Mortem, which is cool. 3 O'Clock, which might be the best one in the book. And then there's Change of Murder and Momentum, which I really don't remember those last 2 a whole lot. But this one's definitely worth it, at least for Rear Window and 3 O'Clock. At least for 3 O'Clock, that one's really good. Which Hitchcock also adapted for an episode of a TV show, but I have not seen that adaptation either. Next we've got Night Has 1,000 Eyes. Again, terrible cover art on the 80s reprint. I know I said that for all of them. But Night Has 1,000 Eyes, this is a pretty fun one. And I think this one might be a movie too. I have not seen the movie yet, but it's, I don't know, it's just different. It's, Cornell, maybe in his short stories he might do like a little bit more like detective-y stuff, but in his novels it's usually not a detective. It's like the everyman. I think this is like kind of like one of the only ones where you sort of get like a detective kind of character in it. And yeah, Night Has a Thousand Eyes. Really good story. Oh, I've actually got a double of it because this one, I just got this double and it came in a lot. And then we've got 2 copies here of Waltz into Darkness, which became Original Sin and became Mississippi Mermaid, if you've seen the movies. Now, this is the one with the better cover art, and it's also under the pen name William Irish. But I did not read this version of it because it is the abridged edition. And this is also the Ace, this is the only Ace double novel books I've got here. It's got some random other novel in it that I know nothing about, but it's abridged, and I don't really read abridged books. I'm going to read the whole thing in its entirety as it was intended, so I did read the hideous 80s reprint of it. And yeah, big chunky book, and sort of a different thing for Cornell. It's set in, instead of like New York, it's set in like 1800s New Orleans. I think in like the 1880s. So a pretty different Cornell book. It was an interesting experience. And then we've got The Black Curtain. This was one of the first ones I read too, because it was it's very slim. It's barely a novel. It's 148 pages. It's a good story, except it kind of let me down in the fact that this gentleman's lost his mind, his memory. I mean, the main character's lost his memory, and I kept waiting for like the big reveal and where he went, because he like left town, and like I guess it was like a whole big backstory that we never really get, and then he comes back into town and he's trying to piece things together, and it's got a lot of like great elements here, but it really like lacks like any sort of like payoff for me on the memory loss stuff. So this is one of my lesser favorites from Cornell, but it's not necessarily like garbage, okay? And then this one, a little convoluted. I will note, though, I did read this on an airplane, and that's Black Alibi. You know, the cover art's not too terrible on this one, but it is pretty dark. And yeah, I read this one. This one's pretty slim, too. It's barely like 200 pages, 205 pages. A bit convoluted, but I wouldn't say it's too terrible, but this is probably one I would not revisit. I'm just trying to see here, guys. We barely have, like, gotten through anything. We've still got, like, a ton more. Let me see here. Well, we could look at this here. This book is called Fright. I've got this really cool edition, and this one's under the name George Hopley? Hopley? I don't know. But this one's just, like, a fantastic cover. I miss when books had covers like this. Like, oh my god, look at those eyes. It's so gnarly. And then the chick, oh my god. Just absolute beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover art. I really dig that a lot. I did not read this copy, though. I did read the reprint, and I've got 2 copies of the reprint. Fright, here from Hard Case Crime. I read the reprint. I think I might have had the reprint first, and then maybe I ended up picking up the real Kino cover art. But Fright, I think, would actually make an awesome movie. It hasn't been adapted, and I think that's like one of the best candidates from what I've read that has not been adapted yet. I think that one's like top tier. Let's see. I'll try and grab like some more of the ones that I have read. Oh, this will be an easy one to get out the way, because I hated it, and I did do a review of this one in a different video, so it'll be quick. But Into the Night, this is the only one that I almost just like absolutely quit on and did not like. It's just stupid, and I'm pretty sure he was like senile at this point. And yeah, I don't know, guys. I really hate when like an author dies and then somebody's like, let's finish this thing we found in his notes and put it out. Like, it's just never good. I've never, in my experience, I've never read one of those that's like good. I don't know if anybody has, but I sure have not. So Next, we have I Married a Dead Man, which is pretty similar to Waltz into Darkness, but it's just, oh my god, it's so much better. This is another one, top tier, that I would definitely reread this one. I don't know if this one's ever been adapted, but it should be. This is another like very, very extremely like top tier Cornell. Like this is like one of his absolute best ones, and oh my god, I do really love the cover on this one. Did I say that? Yeah, but yeah, I love the cover on this one. This one's top tier. This one's up there for me with definitely like Brad Ward Black's up there. I don't know actually which one is my absolute favorite. I did like I love the Brad Ward Black. I love Rendezvous in Black and Black Angel. That oh my god, that's such a good one. And then like but I Married a Dead Man. That's like also like super up there. I really can't rank these that well. Let's see. Okay, we're sort of getting to like well, here, I'll do one more that I really like. And this one is The Black Path of Fear with a very awesome cover. This one's cool, very slim. It's less than, let's see, it's 190 pages. This, I think this one, was this one adapted into a movie? I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't know. But if it's not, it should be. Yeah, I really dug this one. I brought this one with me to work, and I was like trying as hard as I could to like get through this book because I was like real eager to see what would happen next, and it just happened to be one of those days where like I don't know if they were just doing it to piss me off because I was reading, but it was like a slow day. But it's like one of those days where like, even though it's slow, they won't let you relax. So I was like, oh hey, we need you for this. Come over here. I was just like, damn it, I just want to get through this book. This one's also up there. I really dug this one a ton. And then we've got Deadline at Dawn. The cover art's all right on this one. It's like got good elements, but when you put all three of them together with that weird layout, it's like not so good. Like the text is fine, but those three images, the way they're laid on top of each other, it's a no from me, dog. Kind of, but good elements. But you know, like I said, anyways. You know what? I thought this one was like one that had like the ads for cigarettes. I was gonna show it because in some old books you'll see like ads for cigarettes, but no, it was an ad for more books. But see, this one's also slim, 219 pages. I know I liked this one. I can't remember what it's about, to be honest with you. I just remember something about maybe like a key, and like they were trying to figure something out, and they only had like a certain amount of time. This next one, let's see here. This one is like one of everybody's favorites, and I did like it a lot, but the payoff was not so good. And it was sort of like the movie Psycho. It's like perfect 5-star movie. It's got like just everything is so great in that movie, and then you get to the end, and then the guy, you know, he's like, well, actually, and he's got to, you know, like push up his glasses, and then he's like giving the whole like rundown about like the whole like ending explained about Psycho. This book's got that ending, and that's the Phantom Lady. I know everybody really loves this one. It wasn't bad from what I remember. I do remember it being good and just like not really liking like the end, because then, oh boy, basically he needs to find this lady, and then everybody's like, oh no, she never existed actually. And then you get to the end, and it's a convoluted like, all right, she really existed, and here's why you couldn't find her, and like it's just like, oh my god, it's just like so much like explanation at the end that just like really kind of killed it for me. Here's another triple that I've got, because you know, guys, I'm never doing this again where I like blind buy something on eBay that's just got like the stock image there of like, okay, you're buying this book, and oh, but it's in, you know, good condition, but we have to show you like the stock photo, and trust us, bro, like we've got a big warehouse, so that's why we can't take pictures. I'm never doing that again, because this book here is literally torn in half. I don't know if it's gonna focus there. You guys might be able to see like the spine, or should I just take it out of here? I'll just show you guys. Like, it's literally in two pieces. So I was pissed off, and then they wanted me to like mail it back, bro. And I had gotten it cheap, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna mail it back. It was like, like $8 I bought it for. So then I ended up buying it again, and it's got really great cover art. Did I even say the title? This one's called Beyond the Night. This is a compilation of 6 short stories. I do have a third copy because I think this one was also in a lot that I purchased. I was excited for this one because it's a rare time when Cornell is writing like a straight up horror story instead of something that's mystery, crime, detective-y kind of a thing. But I really did not like these. I don't think I read the final 2 or 3 stories. I'm trying to remember, like, where did I leave off? I think I only read the first 3. And so, yeah, there's 6 stories. I think I only read half of this one. And, yeah, I decided I'll just put it down and maybe I'll read the rest later. I don't know, because I really did not like those first 3, but I'm sure eventually I'll come back to that. Let's see. That might be everything that I had, like, officially read. I think we've got some, like, short story collections and a few more novels and some compilations and stuff. I might have read, like, a couple short stories in some of these, but, like, I think everything else at this point is, like, stuff I have not finished. This one is called Darkness at Dawn. This is a compilation. I think this came out in the 80s sometime. I love that moon right there with the skull in it. Let's see what's in this one. When did this come out? 85? Oh, Southern Illinois University Press. Interesting. Alright. I don't know if I'll end up reading you guys like all the short story titles and all of these, but maybe I won't do that at all. This one's got a bunch, but I've never read anything in this. Death Sits in the Dentist Chair, Walls That Hear You, Preview of Death, Murder in Wax, The Body Upstairs, Kiss of the Cobra, Red Liberty, Dark Melody of Madness, the most pretentious short story title I've ever heard, The Corpse and the Kid, Dead on Her Feet, The Death of Me, The Showboat Murders, and Hot Water. That is what is in this collection there. And then, this is a recent purchase for me, Nightmare. I think Nightmare was turned into a movie. This one's also a collection here. It's got, let's see, it looks like 6 stories in here, and I've read at least one of these. I'll Take You Home, Kathleen is the first one. Then Screen Test, IOU, 3 O'Clock, which was in the other one with Rear Window, Nightmare, and Bequest. So this is one I actually do want to get to pretty soon and read the others in it. This one I think was also turned into a movie, but I know nothing about the movie, and I've never read this one. But this is You'll Never See Me Again, with some cool cover art. This one's really thin. This is like a little novella that Dell Books released in like a 10-cent line. Just a really cheap, like 10-cent like novellas. And yeah, I got this one for a solid deal on eBay. But I have not read that yet. I want to. We've got a Deadly Night Call with some good cover art. I think I've read a few in here. You know what? Maybe we will end up reading like all the short story names. Also, Chicago Representation. This was stamped by, I could barely make it out. It looks like it says Beverly Paperback Exchange. And then there's a very, very faint Chicago, Illinois at the bottom. But it's so like faded, you have to like squint. And I'm pretty sure whatever Beverly Paperback Exchange was is out of business now because Beverly's not too far from me. And I've never heard of any sort of paperback exchange around here. So, Johnny on the Spot, Deadly Night Call, Momentum, Boy with Body, Death Sits in the Dentist Chair, and The Room with Something Wrong. So I've read the first 3 and the last one. I've not read Boy with Body and Death Sits in the Dentist Chair. I've not read those ones. But I've basically read most of this collection now. Let's see what else we got here. We've got If I Should Die Before I Wake, with beautiful cover art there. Oh my god, I love these. I love these things. I love these older paperbacks. This one begins with, "If I should die before I wake, I'll never play detective again. Change of murder. A death is caused. 2 murders, 1 crime, and the man upstairs." Did I read Change of Murder? Sometimes these blend together because they're in a few different collections, and I'm like, wait, did I have this one and that one? But you know what? You know what I really hate, guys? I hate that there's a couple shorts that I want that are in like one obscure collection. For example, the movie Cloak and Dagger. I want to see that movie. The short story it's based on, I forget the title of it. The title of the short story is not Cloak and Dagger. It's something else. And it's, and I think it goes under 2 different names. And it's in like some out of print collection that was printed like once in a hardcover like years ago. And they're asking like $200 for it on eBay. I want to say what? It might be like Dead Man Blues or something. Might be the title of the collection. Let me see. Is this one a novel or a short story collection? I don't know. It's in pretty rough condition, and this is Dancing Detective. Kind of a funny name for a book, The Dancing Detective. Let me see. Yeah, it is a collection. Oof. It's pretty fragile too, but I think it'll hold if I, end up reading this book. But it's got, let's see, The Dancing Detective's the first story. 2 fellows in a furnished room. The light in the window, silent as the grave, the detective's dilemma, fur jacket, leg man, and the fingernail. The fingernail, that's such a good title for a short story. Let's see. We've got Bluebeard's Seventh Wife. And it looks like this one's a novel because it says complete and unabridged. So I don't believe this is a short story collection. I've never read this one. Maybe I will soon. Yeah. Then we've got this novel here called Savage Bride. I've never read this one. And let me move a few stacks around and make some space. Oh, this one comes with an interesting story from me. So, I have a little list of Cornell's books that I just got it from Wikipedia, and I just put in my notes app. And I just go down the line, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can find this one, if I can find a good deal. I wanted the book Eyes That Watch You. It's a short story collection. From what I gather, it was printed twice. Once as a hardcover, and it's one of those like things where an eBayer will just say like, "Don't lowball me, bro. I know what I got. You gotta pay me like $50 billion for this." But it was also printed in this collection here from what is this, like the Detective Book Club, where they print like 3 books in one, and I assume this might have been like like a monthly or maybe every couple months kind of a deal. And it's one of 3 books in here. I don't care for the other 2 books, but I bought it for, of course, for Eyes That Watch You. Now this one here, I really was excited when I got this. I got it for $23, and it has like, the dude put like a Mylar thing over the cover, and it just like feels real good. I love when there's like Mylar over that. And I was real excited, except the only downside was like 2 very extremely, like the tiniest ever little bugs fell out of the spine. And anytime I like test and I like shake it, I no bugs, but I'm scared of bugs, and it kind of, I just don't want to be reading this and like a bug falls out. So recently I found a second copy, and it was only like $12 and some change, maybe like $13. So it was like close to like half of roughly of what I spent on the first copy. And they're both in the same condition too. The spine holds. It's not going to fall apart. And I think, oh no, I was going to show you, it was in a different book where some kid like wrote their name all over the inside. Eyes That Watch You. Is there like a table of contents for which stories are in this one? I don't think so. I think literally I would just have to like flip through and see where like the stories change. But Eyes That Watch You. Yeah, honestly, I'm just like scrolling through and like scrolling through. What am I? I'm flipping through, and yeah, I don't think I've read any of these, so that's okay, cool. Yeah, and the other stories that are included in here, I don't, the other novels, I mean, yeah, I don't really care for. So, cool. I'm eager to read that one eventually, just because I'm like, well, it's so hard to find, you know? Next up, we've got Strangler's Serenade. And look at that beautiful eye there on this hardcover. Let me, sorry, there's like tape and everything all over this, like, it's like in this plastic here, and then they put some Mylar on the cover, so that's awesome. Like, I don't know. Some kid like wrote their name like all over, like you could see it there in the front, and they like scratched it out and then redid it, and it's in the back too. And this is a novel, and this is my most recent pickup. I just got this one like a few days ago. It just came from eBay, so I'm excited to add this one to the collection. I do much prefer paperback, but you know, there is something cool too about having a nice hardcover. This is The Best of William Irish. This has, I think, yeah, okay, so it's got Phantom Lady, the one that I said had like the psycho, like unexplained ending. It's got Deadline at Dawn, which, like I said, was good, but I really didn't remember anything about it. And it's also got After Dinner Story in between those two. After Dinner Story is a short story collection. And, oh, I flipped, like, right to it. I was like, sweet, page 169, flipped right to it. I love when that happens. Okay, here's the contents. After Dinner Story, The Night Reveals, An Apple a Day, Marijuana, Rear Window, and Murder Story. So the only one I read in here is Rear Window. And I'm eager to read Marijuana, because I think that one, besides this printing here, or in a separate printing of After Dinner Story, I think it was like, for a while you could only get it as like the 10-cent thingy, and I think that one's like pretty rare. I think that like 10-cent like copy of Marijuana is like just super expensive. So we've got Nightwebs. Nightwebs has had, I think, just 2 printings. The first printing is a nice hardcover that I really want, because it is 4 stories longer than this one. I don't know why. I am assuming it was a rights issue. I don't know. But I need that longer one. But I do have this paperback of the shorter version of Nightwebs, which, you know, maybe it was a rights issue. Maybe they had no money, because just look how like hideous the cover art is on this thing. Like, I can't even call that art. It's like nothing. It's like a wannabe, like, oh, liminal space. So, this is from Crime Masterworks here. What is this printing from? It looks like 1988, I want to say. Let's see. But yeah, sometimes these things are confusing, because it's like, okay, first published in Great Britain in 73, but let's see, copyright 1971, Francis M. Nevins, and then something, the design and Patents Act 1988. Yeah, I guess this was from 88. Sometimes those things are just so confusing and I don't know what they're trying to say, but okay. This is divided into 3 sections, and I don't know why. I don't know if the stories have like themes here or any sort of connection, but the first section is The Claws of Night, and the 4 stories there are Graves for the Living, The Red Tide, The Corpse Next Door, and You'll Never See Me Again. Then we have section 2 is called Death in the City, Dusk to Dawn, Murder at the Automat, Death in the Air, and Mammy and Me. And then section 3 is The Butchers and the Trapped, and that's The Screaming Laugh, one and half murders. Well, it should be 1 1/2 murders. Oh, 1 1/2 murders, okay. Dead on Her Feet, and One Night in Barcelona. And that is Nightwebs, the shorter version. I wish I had the longer one. I don't. But it's not too terribly expensive, but I don't feel like dropping like $50 on a book, you know what I mean? This one, actually, I'm sure I've read everything in this one. This was Rear Window and Other Stories, and I Married a Dead Man and Waltz into Darkness, all in one big omnibus with a terrible cover. I don't know what's with the reprints and having terrible covers. I will double check the stories for you guys. Yeah, Rear Window Postmortem, 3 o'clock, Change of Murder, and Momentum. Then, I should have put this one up earlier. I forgot I had this one, because this one I actually just got, but this is just a different printing of The Bride Wore Black. I don't like the cover on this one, like, at all. I think it's a Jim Steranko cover, huh? It's just Steranko right there in the corner. Oh, let's see. I like whenever there's like a stamp in here. This one's so faded. Let's see, the book rack. Thousands of used paperbacks. And then I can't read it. And it says like Colorado Boulevard, something square, something new paperbacks, 10% off. I just love like vintage stamps like that. Or if you get a stamp that says something about like a library, I live for that stuff. This one's Angels of Darkness. And I really think that cover art is horrifying, okay? Just absolutely hideous, okay? Let's see. This one, I believe the fancy thing about this hardcover is that every story in it has a female lead. I don't know when this was printed here. This collection, 1978 from Mysterious Press. I mean, you would think they could afford good cover art. I mean, they have an introduction here by Harlan Ellison, okay. And this has Johnny on the Spot. I think I might have read that one. Did I read that one? I think that's in one of the other collections. It might be in Deadly Night Call, maybe. We got Johnny on the Spot, Waltz, The Book That Squealed, Meet Me by the Mannequin, Murder at Mother's Knee, Mind Over Murder, Death Escapes the Eye, For the Rest of Her Life. And then an afterword by Francis M. Nevins. Like, I hate that his name is like all over these, okay? And then, this is this the last? Yeah, this is the last book, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I've showed you guys everything. This is the last one. We've got Night and Fear with, again, Francis M. Nevins editing and giving an introduction. So, Night and Fear. And, let's see. This also was a library copy, and it looks like they took this out in like 2004. It's got a stamp for January 2004, and then it's got a stamp for February 23rd, 2004. It looks like Redmond Regional Library, and then this is no longer property of King County Library System with a stamp. I live for that stuff. I just like seeing that stuff in here. This is, let's see, so this edition's from 2004, and it's got, let's see, these are the stories in this one. Cigarette, Double Feature, The Heavy Sugar, Blue is for Bravery, You Bet Your Life, Death in the, what is this word? Yoshiwara? Yoshiwara, I don't know. Endicott's Girl, Detective William Brown, The Case of the Killer Diller, Missed Opportunity for Case of the Driller Killer, Through a Dead Man's Eye, The Fatal Footlights, 3 Kills for One, The Death Rose, and New York Blues. And that, you guys, is my Cornell Woolrich, William Irish, George Hopley collection. There you have it. That's everything. I've read a good portion of them. Maybe I should have totaled it up before doing the video, but I've read a bunch of them, and a bunch I have not read. And I told you guys all that stuff at the beginning because I do want to spread these out, and I just always want to have a little more from my favorite author to look forward to. So thank you all for watching, guys.